Hey there crew, it's Mark from Mark Your Pages, and in today's video we are checking out something that I've never been brave enough to do. One of my Instagram friends has created and published their own manifestation journal that's available on Amazon. Rhonda, who is also known online as Pencils and Experiments, went out on the limb. She said, you know what? I need something a bit different out there that I'm seeing, and she wanted to create an inspiration notebook, a journal, a workbook that does a little bit of everything. We're gonna take a look inside of this today because I've been a very good boy and I've actually been following along with this since the beginning of the year, all the way up until this past month. And I wanna share kind of how I've been using this and talk a little bit more about how you could potentially use a guided journal as well inside of your arsenal. Something that we don't talk a whole lot about on this channel is about kind of other versions of journals. Yes, we do journal reviews, we take a look at notebooks, but so many of them are blank notebooks. And the reality is that not everybody knows exactly where to start. And sometimes you need a little bit of a kickstart, a prompt to get you into it. It's very similar to like the doodle challenges that I do, right? Like I'm not the type of person that can just sit down and just draw something. I need a prompt to get me there. And this guided manifestation journal is a really great way to do that. So let's go ahead and take a look inside at everything that she's put together inside of this book. I love when people self-publish things. I should self-publish things. The first thing I noticed about this journal is that it is quite large. It is 8.5 by 11, so full sheets of US paper is what you're going to be getting here. Now, I do want to say that this journal paper is mostly a workbook. This is not a heavy journal or anything like that. So you're definitely going to want to be very careful about the pens that you're using inside of this notebook. No fountain pens, nothing crazy like that. Just a nice ballpoint pen, pencil will work great for you. Loving the design on the front of this as you go through. It also has a really nice texture to it as well. What I liked about this guided journal is that it really sets you up all along the way. So the very first page inside of here is a 2023 reflection journal. Now, if you feel that you're a little too far into the year by the time you're seeing this, but are still interested in this guided journal, you don't necessarily have to use this page if you don't want to, but it is a really great reflection if there are specific goals or things that you hit last year that you want to bring up, or things you didn't hit that you really want to focus on for this year. In 2023, I had some big wins. I actually was the head coach of my daughter's field hockey team. This was super awesome for me. Also, big social media change for me. That was a big life change, especially when it has to do with what's going on here in social media land. Switching from Men Who Bullet over to Mark Your Pages was something I've been talking about for years, so I definitely want to write that in here and celebrate that and just remember that for myself. There's also plenty of things in here around accomplished goals, things you weren't able to accomplish, new habits that you got rid of, retained, or that you've developed, as well as things that you're grateful for. And then if you like long form journaling, there's a whole reflection page over here that you can go through and setting yourself up. Throughout this notebook, you'll see that there are a number of pages that have just large kind of brain dump areas in here. The dot grid is a little bit large, but I think that you can work it out, especially if you're just kind of writing long form detail. She did include a full 2024 calendar, so if you really want to get ahead of yourself here, you absolutely could. Something that I don't do enough for myself is this next page here, which is about your vision board. It's really sitting down and taking a look at what do you want to accomplish in the next year. And some people like to do it with visuals. In this case, I just wanted to go ahead and just write certain things in here. But if you had stickers or any type of photos or things like that that you would want to print out, that could certainly go on a page like this too. I didn't fill all of them in because I don't necessarily have any kind of health goals or spirituality goals that I'm looking at right now. I did put a wealth goal inside of here, just taking any extra money that I'm making on YouTube or just in social media as a plan and putting that towards student loans or putting extra money into savings. Definitely more one-on-one outings with my wife. I would love to be able to do that more this year. More family movie nights. As my girls are getting older, it's super fun to introduce them to like my favorite movies that they haven't seen yet, and we've been having a good time with that. So I want to continue that in the new year as well. From a career standpoint, always looking to increase my project and program management skills. And from a knowledge standpoint, just want to get better at YouTube thumbnails and titles. It seems like a very silly thing, but as a creator, it's like one of the hardest things for me to do. Like, what does a good thumbnail look like? What does a good title look like? So continuing to educate myself there. My 2024 mantra is one I'm keeping going on forever. Just make decisions, right or wrong. Just pick something to do. Now, I personally skipped over in the vision planner. It just wasn't something that I necessarily was looking into, but finding these New Year's resolutions over on this page, I thought was fantastic. Some really big things here that I'm looking at, just continuing my knowledge in program management training, Looking to get some big numbers, want to get to 20,000 subscribers on YouTube and then 40,000 subscribers on Instagram throughout this year. Some personal goals for myself were things like continuing along with the Planner Palace podcast and being consistent about that, and also the Go Wild event that's coming up in just a few weeks. Really big deals for me. I'm very excited about those. Professionally, wanted to work on kind of organizing more things around design operations. And again, for those financial wellness goals, want to pay off some more student loans. It's a big thing that I want to try to do this year. As we continue through, you have life goals, values, things along that line, as well as the wheel of life that I filled in for myself. I've always loved these wheels of life, but I never kind of build them into my own journals. This is a great reason why I love a workbook like this. A lot of the times I'm doing things like this at work or somewhere else where it's kind of like a workshop and they give you those worksheets. I'm not very good about like making these myself, but maybe I should get into a practice of doing it because I really do enjoy doing these. If you've never worked on a wheel of life before, essentially you have these main areas of your life that you want to focus on, and you have this grid from 1 to 10, and then you fill this in depending on where you feel you are with those. So for health, I'm at about a 7. I'm sure I could be doing better things for myself there. I know that I have to be doing better things for myself there, so I didn't rate it too high. Friends, relationship, personal growth, career, all of those things are going really well for me, and I'm rating them all very high. I want to do more with recreation and having fun, and spirituality is just something that's always kind of been there. Never really a high point or a low point for myself personally, so I gave it that mid-range. If you're big into goal setting, you're going to love this next page. This is just a really big goals tracker, something that you can refer back to, jot down the note of the goal that you're trying to accomplish and when you're trying to do that, and then you can follow along throughout the year. Another big brain dump area for yourself as you get into the first month. Absolutely love that it's had a calendar on it. So if you're not the type of person that wants to keep a separate journal for this, you absolutely could work right inside of this workbook, just focused on your monthly goals and then looking back on those larger ones that you're setting for yourself. You have a goals action plan. So as you're working on each of those things that you mentioned before, you can write down your start date and your end date. What is that goal that you're looking for? How much progress did you make on that? I love the action steps part of this. I think that was actually a really smart piece to include. Made me think through all of the things I needed to do to accomplish what I wanted to. I also love the section over here for possible obstacles. So often we're always thinking about what's great, what's next, what's happening, and we don't take the time to go ahead and sit back and just think about what risks might exist for me as I'm doing this. What I loved about this is that there's a whole section on how do I overcome these obstacles or these risks. And it's actually a really good practice to get into for myself and maybe even for yourself too, to kind of think about the broad spectrum of a project, just not like the little itty bitty details, and then go ahead and try to avoid that risk if you can. I also gave myself a 30-day challenge here, which was giving myself dedicated creative time. This is something that I needed to do for myself because I could potentially have creative time all the time. I work remote. I have this amazing office with everything at my hands and at my disposal. So I found that going ahead and booking and time blocking time for myself would be something that would really benefit me just across the board. So I did this for the entire month. It was important for me really just to provide balance. I've got so many ideas, but poor time management sometimes. So I went ahead and tracked myself every single day, reminding myself to come back to this notebook as we did this. Not every single day was a good thing. Either I didn't have creative time that I set aside for myself on those X's, but anywhere you see a check, I did set aside specific time to do creative projects, and it was great. There's a great reflection at the bottom of this page. For myself, I did okay, but I didn't give myself as much time as I wanted to. I found that dedicated time really helped me focus on what's important to me. And then also, I rated this challenge. I gave myself a 3. It's not to be down on myself. I'm just being realistic. I could do better with something like this, and hopefully we'll continue this habit in the future. Once you get to the end of that month, now it's time for that reflection time. So I actually sat down with this right at the beginning of February when I started the new month and focused on all my wins. Did I stick to my goals? What challenges did I have? What lessons did I learn? And filled in the rest of these pieces. And I love the section down here on the bottom about 2 life lessons that I learned. For myself this month, it was count on the early adopters, as well as always ask or try for something that you have your gut instinct for. For myself personally, this was working along with my teams when I was implementing Confluence for kind of group note-taking and project status updates at work. Count on those early adopters. Those are the people that I needed in my life to really help me out and like get things going for anyone else that might be unsure. And then following my gut, that all had to do with the Planner Palace podcast. I knew that I wanted to do something different with it. I knew in my gut that I needed a partner in crime on that. And I went out on a limb and I asked Jess to do that, and she said yes, and it's been awesome. And just one of those things to remind myself that if I have a gut feeling about it, follow through on it. The worst that can happen is someone could say no, and I'll have to figure something out. But when they say yes, it's even better. Just to go over what I did inside of February, again, a really big thing for me was starting that Planner Pals podcast, allowing the time to do that, and really setting up the action steps I needed to make this possible. Of course, having that space for the obstacles was really important for me to think about what could potentially go wrong. In this case, Jess could say no, she doesn't want to be a part of this. We could have technical issues. We could maybe not find overlapping time to record, or it was going to take me too long to actually edit. So writing down these obstacles was great because I could go ahead and get ahead of this and have these conversations with Jess. We were able to figure everything out, and it worked out perfectly because we've been able to make this happen. My 30-day challenge this month was just to time block weekly, really to be able to achieve the goals that I wanted to. I love using tech and tools to make things happen for myself, but the problem that I have is I want to do it all together. So what I did is I actually just set this up weekly. So you're only going to see 4 checks on this page here, but that's because I worked ahead and time blocked on Sundays as I prepared for my week. What I learned about this is that it works so well. I might just continue along with this habit because I saw such great results from it. So really celebrating that and writing that down and reflecting on that has been awesome. And this journal really does it all for us. Like I mentioned earlier, this is not something that I normally would do for myself, especially trying to think about like those prompts and all of those pieces. That's why guided journals work so well. So if you're interested in checking out this one specifically, you like what you saw inside of this video today, I'll go ahead and drop a link for you down in the descriptions below. That way you can head right over to Amazon and pick that up if you want. And again, just celebrate this community. When we have great ideas and great people who are doing amazing things like self-publishing books, love supporting them and getting out there. So I have to say thank you, Rhonda, for sending this journal over to me. I've really enjoyed doing this, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. If you've used a guided journal before, what benefits did you find from them? I think that's something that not everyone always thinks about, but sometimes they're just so incredibly helpful. So thank you so much for hanging out today and checking this out. And if you have anything else you'd like to chat about, comment section is open. And I'll talk to you next time, friends. See ya.